Alrighty, what is up, guys? Welcome to another QSC DJ discussion. I'm DJ Keyless. I am so honored to be with you guys again, and I am amongst some DJ royalty here. I have the pleasure of being with not only our girl Kristen, who you've seen before, but also a personal friend and my own DJ mentor, DJ Shorty. And then we have DJ Step One. Both of these ladies are absolutely amazing DJs. Turntablists, teachers, they are social media queens. I can't even describe the amazing things that they do, but I'm going to let them actually describe it right now. So let's go ahead and introduce my girl Shorty, and you can tell everybody about yourself and what you do and what we're going to talk about. Well, actually, we won't talk about what we're talking about. Let's just talk about you right now. Go ahead, Shorty.
It's all about me. No. Sure. Thanks so much. So yeah, I'm a DJ and a turntablist, which means I scratch and beat juggle and do tricks. And I'm also a music producer, and I run a record label called Heavy Artillery Recordings. And I'm an actor, which is totally separate from music. And I'm also a DJ instructor. So I teach people how to become badass DJs and turntablists. So I teach them how to mix, scratch, and beat juggle like whoa, whether they're a beginner or a seasoned pro. So that's what I do. And I've released 22 online courses. I've released DVDs on how to DJ. I wrote a book on how to DJ. I teach classes and also in-person private lessons, both here in my studio and also online via Zoom.
Absolutely. And I can attest for Shorty's DJ, her teaching skills. Like I said, I'm a personal student, and she is absolutely the best teacher. And she doesn't take it easy on it either. She will crack that whip, but she's nice. She looks sweet, but it's like she will back and off scratch. She's like, why did you just do that way? What, excuse me. And she's like, even on
it's
Zoom,
love. It's all love.
So, but she's like calling my hands out on Zoom, and she's like, wait, do that scratch one more time. She's like, you didn't do that right. That's not. And I'm like, how do you even get it? So she's amazing. But thank you so much, Shorty, for being here. And I was connected to Step One actually via Shorty, and so I am actually learning a little more about her right now, and I'm excited to do so. So Step One, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Step One. I'm a producer and a turntablist in the Bay Area. So I'm also an Ableton certified trainer, and I own a music production school called Sequence One in Oakland, where we teach Ableton classes. I'm also a co-organizer of the San Francisco Ableton user group, where we all meet up periodically to nerd out about Ableton and music. As far as my creative work, I love to try to blend through live performance, finger drumming, scratching, on-the-fly beat making using Ableton Push. I was recently featured by Ableton in a performance video, so if you're interested, you can go check that out over on their channel if you want to see kind of what I'm talking about. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll hand it over to Kristen.
What's up, guys? It's Kristen. RDJ Rocks out of Orlando. I don't even want to follow these amazing ladies. My expertise and background is really in personality and vibes and picking the right music, playing it at the right times. My niche market is really weddings and private events, and I own RDJ Rocks, which claim to fame is we're an all-female DJ company out of Orlando. Got some amazing ladies that are on my team. Super diverse group, so all types of music from anywhere from EDM and tropical house to country to Latin to Afro beats and everywhere in between. So that's us, and yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. And just so you guys know a little more about me, I'm DJ Keyless out of Los Angeles. I specialize in high energy, super fun private events, weddings, corporate events, and now virtual events given the quarantine and COVID thing. But you got to make lemonade out of lemons. You know what I mean? So I'm doing the best I can there. But again, thank you guys so much. So excited to dive into this next hour with everyone. And speaking of quarantine, does anybody have any cool stories to tell over the past 2 weeks? I know I personally can start off. I, believe it or not, actually had my first live wedding on the 13th, and it was a super small 10-person wedding, so we were all socially distant. I kept a mask on the whole time. had gloves, sanitized my microphones. And it was actually a really interesting experience because the ceremony happened in a private jet on the way to Northern California in Sonoma County. So we all hopped on this super cool G4 jet and did the ceremony. Then the next day, the reception. And we came back the next day and everything was fine. And I've been healthy so far. So knock on wood, it was, we all followed and everything went fine. So that's my personal experience with my first quarantine event. And then I've also done several virtual events. I did a school prom and a graduation or grad blowout, if you will, recently last week. So I had a pretty busy week, but excited about the progression in terms of having stuff to do. But anyone else have anything that they want to report over the past 2 weeks or any cool quarantine projects that might be happening?
I'll go. I'm not as brave as DJ Keyless. I will not leave my house, or at least for a gig. I'm not yet. So I've been doing a lot of live streaming and mostly educational. So I've been doing a lot of like trying to give back while people like are on lockdown. Ever since lockdown started, and here in California, I've been doing live streams called Scratch DJ workouts that are free on YouTube. Ooh. And they're always like 2 hours. BB knows. Oh my God. But yeah, so I take people through like a scratch practice session with me, and through that you learn scratches, and it's all free. And then the replay is live on YouTube. So I've been doing that to kind of give back and just give people something, you know, because we all need to stay connected right now. Mm-hmm. It's really important. And some people are going stir crazy who do have the luxury of staying home. And so just giving also, I feel that scratching is a really great meditative thing. Out of all the DJ skills, in particular scratching, you're playing a musical instrument more than anything else. And so it's just really meditative, and just going through the scratch drills, it's just therapeutic for your mindset. So I thought that was the best way for me to show up and serve during this time. And then I've also done one live stream gig for DJing, but it's because I focus more on teaching right now in terms of my online presence. But the gig was for a great cause. It was for Black Lives Matter. We raised a bunch of money. I play drum and bass, which is my heart. I play all different styles of music, but drum and bass is where my heart's at. It's also what I focus on producing, drum and bass and half step and glitch hop and trap and stuff like that, like bass music and scratching. So it was for my favorite rave promoters in the Northeast of USA, Tight Crew. Shout out to Tight Crew. And so we had like a rave online, and it was so fun and so cool. My mom even attended. Gave a shout out to my mom. But that's pretty much what I've been doing on quarantine. I don't have any like fancy private jet stories to share.
I think when it comes though.
But Beeb, I keep calling her Beebs because that's what her nickname to me. But okay. DJ Keyless has been in those scratch DJ workouts, and she knows I make you sweat in those workouts. So yeah, it's been fun though. I've really been enjoying this format a lot. Like I've been doing a lot in the online space, but since quarantine and everything has sort of forced everyone in this box, I've really enjoyed exploring the format and everything like that in terms of the medium, and just really having fun with it and learning even more about it that I didn't know before this time. So it's been cool.
Yeah. And she's also been like my little go-to whenever I'm having technical issues. I'm like, Shorty, how do I do this? Because this whole live stream, and I haven't done any, I have my first live stream on Friday. I will shout myself out later today, but if anybody's around, 9 p.m. on Twitch for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It's a fundraiser. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, step one, do you have any cool things happening the past few weeks?
Man, I have also been a total hermit for the last few months. So what I've been kind of splitting my time between a few things. First, I've started working on more content for my school, Sequence One. So just kind of working on ideas for new YouTube tutorials and planning out the curriculum that I'm going to create over the next 6 months, like, a whole series. Because right now we have like a few different online courses courses, but I want to come up with a whole series that takes you from like, you know, knowing nothing all the way to being like a proficient songwriter and beat maker. So I'm working on that series right now. Yeah. Oh, and then like many people right now on lockdown that are, you know, kind of using the time to learn new skills, I've been taking a motion graphics and animation course for the last few months. I've been working on After Effects for the last few years, but I just wanted to kind of really get serious and get my skills up to a professional level, because I love kind of incorporating like cool motion graphics and animations into our courses and YouTube tutorials. So it's like fun for me, and then it's also, you know, kind of benefits the school as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing for the last few months.
That's awesome and impressive that you are able to merge those things together. And it's like, it's so cool. I always talk to Shorty about that, about how DJing is just an evolving process of learning. And some people just stop at beat matching and they're like, oh, cool, I've learned to DJ. But when you dive in, it's something new. And I know Shorty's been in this over 20 years, and she's even talking about she learned stuff. But for me, as I've been, you know, following her around, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy, the amount of stuff. And even in lessons, like we're doing something and she's like, oh, that's a cool scratch, hey, maybe we just invented something. And like it's crazy. You can invent new stuff and it's amazing. But anyway, let's Kristen, any cool things happening with you over quarantine the past few weeks since last time we chatted?
I'm just like in awe right now. First of all, if there's anybody watching who's terrified of scratching, like holla over here, because I definitely have not. That's definitely an area of DJing that I have not touched.
Come to mama.
Right.
Oh, don't you worry. Like, first of all,
I'm making fun.
Yeah, I've already been saying that I need to like work out, and like today, my health challenge is like, you're going to get through this gallon of water, Kristen, right? So I'm definitely going to find wherever you're posting anything and I'll work out with you. My focus has really been on, you know, kind of where my passion started before, my second passion of DJing, which is marketing. And I love using that creative side of myself. So I have really just been diving into like content creation, like what things can I create and resources can I create for potential new clients or even other DJs to use when I do things like this. Different Spotify playlists. I'm you know, researching new types of music genres right now. Even crazy things, you know, catchphrases. I don't know who's familiar with this, but drip marketing campaigns, lead magnet funnels, just anything I can do, because it's not just me that I book events for, it's for a tribe of amazing women. So I want to make sure that when this is on the other side and we can get back to live, that, you know, we're still able to pick up the phone and be like, yes, we're available. So I want to make sure that we stay relevant when it comes to that kind of thing. So
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Cool. And then Kristen was actually talking about her exploration of Afro beats earlier. So if anybody has any cool Afro beats that they want to recommend in the comment box, shoot it to Kristen's way. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. But cool. Let's dive into some of the meaty stuff. So we have some of what I would say some of the best female DJs in the game that I personally know of. And I would love to talk a little more about your experience, because I feel like, you know, this is something that doesn't get chatted about a lot. Is that, you know, some people talk about being a female in the industry, but I think to talk about being an actual badass, amazing DJ that gives guys runs for their money, like that is something that really I think we should talk about, because it's not an easy feat. You know, because I think people don't realize as a female DJ what we're up against. And, you know, like me personally, I've walked into venues and I'm like, hey, I have where's the DJ booth? And they're like, yeah, I'll tell the DJ when he gets here. And you're like, oh, wow, hi, that's actually me. So the response as a female DJ is definitely not the same, you know. So I would love to hear a little more about your journey, you know, into doing this and what kind of you've experienced in being a female in the industry and kind of how you've made your path here today, as you know, succinctly as we can fit this in an hour conversation. But Shorty, just because you're right in my vision, let's start with you. Here, let's dive in.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to start off by saying I want to big up DJ Keyless, because she keeps talking about us and how awesome we are, but she is like amazing. One of the top, if not the top, mobile wedding DJ on the West Coast here, representing for the females as well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you, because I love you and you deserve it. And she's badass. And her scratching's getting really good too.
I get the scratch down now. Anyway, somebody's asking in the comments, how did DJ Shorty get to be so awesome? So you get awesome. So you can get into this conversation right now.
Oh, thanks. Well, okay. So, short version. I started out DJing in 1995. I actually started out as a drummer when I was younger, and I played drums and percussion all the way up through college. I was a total band geek in the marching band and symphonic band, and played snare drum. And in college, I was in a punk rock band. But around that time in college, I was going to raves and hip hop shows and stuff like that. So I was really into electronic dance music, and I was also into hip hop. And so I was aware of the DJ, but I didn't respect the DJ. Because I was like, wiki, that's so easy. Anyone can do that. I play a real instrument. I can read music and all this snobby stuff, right? Traditional musician mindset. And then one of my friends invited me over to his house because he had a friend visiting. And he was like, my friend is scratching in my living room. You got to check it out. And I'm like, wiki, whatever. You know, he's like, no, come over and check it out. So I walked in, and there was this guy, and he had dreads down here. He was kind of cute. And then I watched him scratch, and I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. Like, I'd never seen anybody scratch like that. And then that night I was playing drums with my punk rock band at a house party, and that guy was standing behind me the whole time watching me play the drums. And afterwards he came up to me and he was like, you're really good on the drums. I was like, you're an amazing scratch DJ. How do I learn that? Like, I would love to learn how to do that. And he's like, well, I could teach you. You know, it's just like, it's a percussion instrument and you would learn really easy. And that was in 1995. 25 years later, I'm still with this man. His name is DJ Faust. We got married in 2001.
Shout out to Bobby. I love Bobby.
Yeah.
I was Puerto Rican, by the way. Boricua. Anyway, go on.
So he taught me the basics of mixing, scratching, and beat juggling back then. But back then, there weren't all the scratches that there are now. So there were no crabs or flares or boomerangs or autobahns. And so he got me to a certain point, and then we learned the rest together as things were coming out. And then I was in a crew in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for a little bit. And it was a DJ crew with DJ Craze, who's DMC champion 6 times. He won 3 times solo, 3 times team. He's amazing. If you don't know who Craze is, check him out. Also Faust, my husband, DJ Faust. His real name's Bobby. And DJ Clever, who's also DMC champion. T-Rock, Shotgun, King James. We were all in this crew, and we would do these 6 turntable sets. And around that time, it was also the time I was first released on record, because my husband, DJ Faust, released his first solo album, Man or Myth, which is the first turntablist album ever released in history, which is an album comprised of scratching. So like all the beats are scratched in, any effects you hear, it's like an echo. It's done by hand with scratching. It was made on a Yamaha 8-track and 2 turntables. And an old beat up MTX mixer. So it wasn't even a fancy mixer. So that was my first time on record. And then after that, I released my first album in 1999. So that was in 1997-ish, 1998. I was on that album. And I released an EP with Craze and Faust in 98 called Fathomless. I did my first US tour at that time, and then first European tour. And then I released my first album, which was The Dreamer. And that's the first turntablist album and only turntablist album ever released by a female turntablist. And then, so that just started off the production career. And then eventually, you know, we were playing raves and a lot of electronic dance music. And then we were also playing hip hop shows. We had feet in both, you know, arenas. But my passion, my true passion, was always electronic dance music. So when it came time to actually shift my production style away from turntablism and actually really start producing like without turntables and just like, you know, on a sequencer and stuff like that, it was drum and bass and glitch hop and electro house, you know, bass music. And so around that time, like in 2006, my husband and I started Heavy Artillery Recordings, which is indie multi-genre electronic dance music record label. So it's like electro house, drum and bass, dubstep, trap, like all the genres that we play and produce also. And we have now over 400 artists on the label. We've been running the label since then, and it's been doing really well. And then as far as teaching, I released my first instructional video in 1999 on VHS.
Wow.
So I'm old school. Don't ask me how old I am. I'm just kidding. I'm 44. But yeah, so back then, and then we eventually put it to DVD, and that was the first instructional video in history that taught mixing, scratching, and beat juggling. So it's kind of groundbreaking. And then we went to a DVD series, and then I eventually released up 22 online courses. Like I said, I wrote a book, and now up till now, teaching online lessons. I've also taught for like a lot of big brands such as Berkeley and the Grammy Foundation and all the big DJ schools. Scratch DJ Academy, I was a head professor there for 4 years. That's one of that's the second time I met DJ Step One at the Scratch DJ Academy, and also taught for the Beat Junkies and a lot of other really cool entities. And I've had, DJing has taken me all over the world, in terms of like places I never thought I'd ever, DJ'd or played. And then I've had the opportunity to work with awesome sponsors, such as Rain, who's one of my favorite sponsors, but, and then also like Glowtronics and 12-inch skins to make the skins for your turntables and stuff like that. And a lot, just like every gear company under the sun, Pioneer, all of them. And it's DJing has just like, I never could have imagined what walking into that living room and meeting my husband would have done for my life, because I don't know if I would have been a DJ had I gone down that path. I probably would have been like touring, hopefully, as a drummer or something like that. But it just totally took a left turn, and I'm so grateful. So that's like a snapshot of my career.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. And then let's hear a little bit about Step One, and then we'll dive into a little more depth. But Step One, let's hear about you and how you got your start, and all the amazing things you've accomplished in your career and still continue to accomplish.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Okay. So
no pressure or anything.
So I actually was a dancer growing up. I started dancing when I was like 4, danced all the way through college. Initially it was like, tap, jazz, modern ballet. But then in college I got into like break dancing and freestyle dancing, because I was also in the rave scene and going to a lot of hip hop shows and stuff. But my passion was always tap dance. That was my favorite. And if you've ever seen somebody, funky tap, like Savion Glover or somebody like that, like, it's very percussive. And so that's why when I eventually learned how to scratch, I was like, oh my God, this is like tap dancing, but with your hands. Because you're tapping out rhythms, right?
Yeah.
The same way. So yeah, I was exposed to turntablism in 1996, I want to say. Yeah, a friend of mine in college brought over this VHS tape of the World DMC Finals from 1995. That was the year that Rock Rada won, and I was just blown away. I like wore that tape out to the point where it just like fell to pieces, and I was like, wow, they're talking with their hands. I want to learn how to do that one day. But at the time it was pretty like cost prohibitive to just start DJing. Like, you really had to buy turntables and a mixer, and they're pretty expensive. So it kind of was like one of those things. I was like, oh, maybe one day. But then in 2004, I was living with the guy that I was dating at the time, DJ Solo, and he was a DJ, and so there were turntables in the house, and he was like, well, you know what, you have amazing rhythm and you're a great dancer. I bet you would be really good at scratching. And so yeah, he started showing me like the basics, and then I had just moved to LA at that time, and I was really looking for more community. So the Scratch DJ Academy in LA had just opened, so I took like the very first semester that they ever taught. It's probably like 2005 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I took a mixing class there, and then I took a beat juggling class with Shorty the following year. Yay! And so that's how I started to kind of build my turntablist skills. And I was always more interested in turntablism, but I realized like, oh, nobody's going to hire me to just scratch. So I guess I should like get serious about like, mixing and doing creative mixing mixes and stuff, and trying to incorporate those all together. But yeah, and then I think around 2008, so I think that happens to a lot of DJs, right? We play other people's music, and that sort of whets our appetite for, like, you know, how is this constructed? How is this made? Like, I kind of want to do this if I can. And so in 2008, I bought a bass guitar and started playing bass. And then, a few years later, I finally got serious about original production. And I think, you know, I do want to, like, shout out, you know, to people who have, like, confidence issues and, like, imposter syndrome, because that's like a total thing. And I always wanted to learn to produce original music, like hip hop or electronic music. But there was this thing in the back of my head that told me, like, oh, you're not a real artist, you know, because you didn't grow up playing an instrument, and, you know, it's not, like, part of your history. It's not in your DNA. And so yeah, I kind of let that hold myself back from really focusing on music production. But a few years later, I actually just found the right teacher. Like, I had kind of had little fits and starts. I'm sure we've all done that. Like, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn that. And you, like, do it for a couple months, and then you kind of abandon the project. But so I'd had a couple false starts, but I finally, actually my current business partner in the music school, he was my Ableton instructor. I've been using Ableton, but, like, the way a DJ uses Ableton. So he was my, like, production instructor, and we worked together for a year or so. And then I ended up just, I designed his website, and he was like, hey, wow, you have all these, like, interesting skills that complement mine. Why don't you be my business partner? And so that's how, and then I had already had which we can talk about later, but I had a long history of teaching. Like, I have I'm a long-time educator in a lot of different fields. And so it just made sense that I would eventually start teaching Ableton and music once I got to a level of proficiency, because I really enjoyed teaching and taking something that's really scary and looks really complicated and making it digestible and fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I love that you brought up imposter syndrome. I talk to Shorty about this all the time, but yeah, I think a lot of DJs struggle with I think even the more success you get, the worse the imposter syndrome gets, because now there's the pressure. Yeah, because sometimes you walk into an event and everybody's like, oh my God, yeah, like, you're DJ Keyless, I'm so excited to see this. And then you're like, now I'm really nervous. Like, I was kind of nervous. Yeah. Not that I didn't think I was going to kill it, but I feel like it's that added pressure of, well, now the expectation, the bar just got set high. So it's definitely true. And that's amazing that you were talking about overcoming that. And I love that. Absolutely. And so, amazing stories, both of you guys. And I mean, me and Kristen are over here just, like, in awe of everything we're hearing. And, like,
we're over here private chatting girl crushes. So
we're like Women Crush Wednesday, right? Hashtag WCW. Sure.
Oh, I forgot to mention this. We both forgot to mention this.
Totally.
So after I met Step One, sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if we'll get back to it.
Yeah,
we both had the so we were at the Scratch DJ Academy. She was taking the beat juggling class, and I had been working on a female centric battle record. A battle record is like a DJ tools record where you can have sounds to scratch and beats to juggle, or phrases to battle with in DJ battles. But everything was really misogynistic. Like, all the battle records up until that time were, like, just all produced by men, and some of them which were kind of offensive, and which had bothered me for years, being the only female when I started out too, because back then in 1995 there were very few of us. Yeah. So I had the idea, and I was, like, working on ideas for it at the same time. Just in conversation it popped up, and Step One had the same idea, and we were like, why don't we work on it together? So that's what we did, and we busted out this, and it's the first and only battle record, DJ Tools record, produced by women, for women, strong enough for a man, made for a woman, and it's called Bikini Wax. And that's us in 2006. So I had to shout that out, especially because we're both on this call together. So I just wanted to say that. Sorry for interrupting, but that's a pretty groundbreaking record too.
That was, and it's a perfect segue into what I want to talk about next. So I love that you even brought that up. And so that's amazing. And so that props to you, first of all, for breaking that mold and having that sort of record to hold. That's amazing. And again, one of the reasons why I looked up to you, because in my own personal journey, you were one of the the first female DJs I ever came across, and then just to see you and how amazing you were really was just like, wow, women can actually do this, and who knew?
Oh
So
yeah, we can.
so I would love to hear more about that, to touch on that a little bit in terms of like, what advice would you give to female DJs who want to get into this but might feel a little intimidated or scared that, you know, that they might have to deal with this male dominated industry that might be out to get them, you know? And I think as a woman too, you feel this need to prove yourself a little more. And so like, let's talk about your experience and what, you know, advice you would give to handle that sort of thing. And you know, let's talk about it. So yeah, and Shorty, again, let's start with you because you're just right in my peripheral. So I'm going to just default that way.
Okay. When I started, there were very few of us, like I mentioned, or very few females. And so like the only females that I had seen back then were Cotton Candy, scratching in the DMC battles, which is like the big battles, and Step One referenced those videos. I saw her on an old crusty VHS tape too. Cotton Candy, and she was from New York. And then also Symphony, who's one of the original Beat Junkies crew, and she's the first female I ever saw beat juggling. And up until that point, like I was learning all this stuff. This is in '95, but I'd never seen another female do anything like advanced like these women. And I was like, oh my God, yes, girls do this too. So kind of like that same feeling that you had, that you mentioned when you saw me. It's like, you know, they do this too, and they're badass. Right. And that means that's like just more affirmation that I can do it, you know, and that's what I needed in my mindset, especially, you know, because you start to feel really alone, especially back then, you know, because I was with a bunch of guys that, unfortunately, my now husband, who was really supportive of me, a lot of other guys that I was around didn't want to share their skills, or like, you know, like, no, this is a guy thing, go do a girl's thing or whatever. Right, yeah. So that's what I dealt with back then. So it wasn't until 2002 when I was actually able to scratch with another female for the first time. Oh, wow. And that was at the NAMM show. In 2002, the NAMM show was a big music convention, for those that don't know, where companies showcase their new gear or their new instruments or whatever like that. So I go and showcase for different products. Step's done it, you know, Step One's done it too. And so we would go and showcase products. But back then, you know, there were a few females, and I was walking by the Behringer booth, my husband and I saw this girl, and she was scratching. I was like, oh my God, there's another girl, she's scratching. And I ran over and I looked at her, and I was like, oh my God. And I was like, who are you? And I like, you got to come scratch with me over at the booth that I was at, the Stanton booth. Her name was DJ Analyze. We're still besties to this day. And she actually learned to flare from the DJ 101 video that I released in 1999 on VHS. So she's like, I know who you are. And so I dragged her up on stage with me. And we haven't stopped scratching ever since together. And we eventually did a tour called Twice as Nice and stuff like that. But that was sort of my trajectory as a female. So I was always like people wouldn't let me in the club because they're like, you're not the DJ. Like security, literally in Tallahassee, by the way, Tallahassee, Florida. It was a security guard wouldn't let me in the club because he didn't believe I was a DJ. I had to go around back and get like the bartender to let me in the back because I was going to miss my set. People will pay my husband and not me. And even when like I'm the only one DJing, if we're not DJing together, so stuff like that, or like just, you know, typical stuff like, oh, let me hook this up for you, you know, that kind of stuff. Whereas I'm like, I got it. I can plug in an RCA, you know, and an XLR. Oh, you know what an XLR is? Like that, kind of like that stuff. So you deal with that. So I've been conditioned to show and prove my entire career because I've always been underestimated because of my gender directly. So that I feel like I don't complain about it though, because it's what's made me who I am now. Like I am, it's always been like, even when I was in that crew with like these future DMC champions back then, they were just entering the battles. They hadn't won yet, but I was the youngest DJ in terms of not age, but in terms of experience, and the only female. And so I needed to come correct with my skills, and they wouldn't let me rest on my laurels either. Like I was pushed hard. It was like a lot of tough love. And, but that is what sort of honed my work ethic. Because I was not going to be the token female. They wouldn't let me either. And it was just like a lot of pressure, on stage to be good. And I can relate to the imposter syndrome too, because I remember one gig, it was the Fathomless tour, that EP that I mentioned earlier that I released with Faust and Craze. And it was my first like big US tour. It was like the first date in Texas, Houston. And I was on stage with Craze, who's like amazing, and Faust, who's also amazing. And I was like, I just got so in my head. And I was like, these people don't want to see me. Like I'm like not as advanced as them, and just feeling not enough and all that imposter crap and fraud syndrome. And I left the stage and I ran to the bathroom and I started crying because I was just totally overwhelmed. And I'm not even a crier, but that was how overwhelmed I was. And I was in the bathroom for 20 minutes. And then Faust came back and he was like, what are you doing back here? We're still playing the show. Like, you need to get back on stage. I'm like, no, they don't want me. And so I wouldn't leave. And just feeling sorry for myself and just not like living up to the moment, right? And then Craze comes back there. He's like, get your ass on the stage right now. This promoter paid for you to be here. These people are asking for you, and you are not here, and you're leaving it on us to finish the show. You get out here right now. So it wasn't like, oh, sweetie, it's okay. No, it's put your ass on the stage. Yeah. So I came back out, wiped my tears, came back out, got up, started scratching, and the crowd erupted. And in that moment, I realized that it's not necessarily about how technical you are or how skilled you are, even how much experience you have. Everyone has a valid voice to bring to this conversation, right? And your voice is important. Everyone's is, because we're all so unique in our own way. This is the only iteration of us that will ever exist and forever. Even if reincarnation exists, it's not going to be the same, right? So there's a reason why we're here, is to share our unique voice. That's what I believe, and that's what I learned in that moment, that I was worthy, and that even being a female and the only female, because all that pressure and stuff too, it was like, oh, you have to be good, because people just stand up there like, oh, what's she gonna do, and like automatically you get either the women haters or you get the ones that just underestimate you. But either way, you're fighting an uphill battle. So now fast forward to now, and per your question of what would I give advice to for females coming up now it's a lot different. In terms of like, there's so many of us. There's so many females in the game now. It blows my mind when people are like, wow, I've never seen a female DJ before. I'm like, really? Have you been living under a rock? Because we're everywhere. Right. And there's so many good ones. It's not just like, oh, I'm cute and I'm behind the decks. I mean, yeah, there's some girls like that, and more power to them if they want to rely on their looks rather than their skills. But that's never been my brand. And my students, we all focus on skill over gimmick. Our skill is the gimmick, right? Yep. So that's what I would say. As a female, you're still to this day, even though there's tons of us, there's still less of us that are turntablists, but there's still a lot more than when I started. And so, first of all, look around, because now there's YouTube. Back then when I started, there was no YouTube. There was no way to connect. Like I was by chance saw Cotton Candy on that VHS tape and Symphony, right? But there was no YouTube. There was no, like, unless you were in the room with one, you would never see one. But now you can connect so easily. You can find other females on YouTube and social media, and like really like connect and find your tribe and support other women, because women supporting women are how we're going to fully break through this glass ceiling. And I know Steph can relate too, but we've been busting through glass ceilings, over the years, but we're still not at that highest one yet. And so even though there's tons of us, we're still underestimated. But take that, instead of getting bitter about it or complaining about it or anything like that, take that mentality of show and prove, and just put it in your craft. Put it in your skills. Don't give them anything, weird to say. Instead, use the shock value, because they're still going to underestimate you. But when you come correct with your skills and you have that shock value, then there's no dude on the planet that will be able to stand up to a girl with skills. You know what I mean? Just because you have that shock value advantage. So it's kind of like what Keela said about making lemonade out of lemons. Okay, they're underestimating you, or they're just like, discriminating against you or whatever. Well, flip that on its head and use it to your advantage, because once you win them over, oh my goodness, because you're going to blow them away. So my advice is to really focus on your skills and support other women, because we're not going to rise unless we all rise together. It's when like the cattiness starts and whatever, and that happens with the dudes too. It's not just females, right? But like the competition, and none of that helps anything. There's a place for all of us. All 4 of us are completely different, even if we all played the same gig. You know what I'm saying? Even if we all played the same music, it would sound completely different. The set would sound completely different. That goes with any DJ. So it's not like we're competing for gigs, okay? Let's just all help each other, all get booked together and share our skills too. That's the other thing. Each one teach one. I teach all my students to teach another student because selfishly, it's going to help you become a better DJ. You're going to learn things to break things down into steps and have to explain it to someone else, and you get to actually relearn it again as you do it. Keelas knows this. Yeah. But so teach one, but also for yourself, but also just to don't hold your skills back, especially if it's another woman, because I guarantee you a lot of guys will not show her stuff. I've been fortunate to have some very wonderful males in my life that were teaching me when it was extremely male dominated. Still male dominated now, but not like it was. But that's because more women are in the game and we're supporting each other. So support each other with skills, network, connect, just pick each other up on social media. You know, just sometimes just one little comment can make someone's day. You know, so that's what I would have to say. Support each other and really focus on your skills. And if you want to look cute, that's great. That's like frosting on the cake, right? But, you know, I personally prefer to rely on my skills rather than just looking cute behind the decks. Because if you just look cute, you might get that first booking, but they might not book you again if you can't hang. But if you can hang, you're going to be booked over and over and over again. So that's my rant.
I'm not getting a microphone. Bah, just like drop it. Like it's so over now. Like, what do we do? No, that was great. I appreciate that. And I think that was relevant to females especially, but I think all DJs in general, I think this is something we all just need to understand is it should definitely be community over competition. Like there's enough gigs out there for everyone. So let's not be so competitive and let's, you know, reach out and help each other and understand that, you know, we're all in this game together. And, you know, it's like, so it's okay if a client chooses that DJ over you, more than likely that client wasn't your fit anyway. So it just leaves the door open for a better client. So there's no reason behind that. And I think especially as a woman, but I'm also a huge believer of always putting your best foot forward and always making sure your mix sounds the best that it can so that people, if you don't give them a reason to say anything and you give them a reason that the only thing they say is good stuff, then you're already a step ahead of the game. And it's like, and I feel like sometimes there's male DJs that I see, especially wedding DJs, who just aren't putting the effort in and they're sitting there and they're just like sitting down and drinking their coffee and, you know, virtual DJing on a keyboard. And you're like, really, dude? And, you know, like, it's fine. They got hired, but there's just no effort because they can, you know, do that. And I just feel like there's so much more pressure as a female, but just to be a successful DJ, you should have that pressure on you. You know, if you want the success, you have to put it, you know, like it doesn't come easy. So you work hard, play harder. Right. But step one, I don't know if you can follow that, but I'm sure you have.
Of course she can. She's amazing.
I have a few things that I do want to contribute, but I want to let Kristen go before me.
Yeah, sure, Kristen. Yeah, let's talk about it. Have you had any kind of diversity or anything you've reached as a female DJ?
Yes, and I would say I'm over here fired up because, you know, and if you guys are just joining us, make sure you rewind and listen to everything that DJ Shorty just said, because I would copy and paste that a million times. And I've experienced that in many different facets over the course of, 10, 12 years that I've been doing this. I started in college. The one thing that I would add to that is, consistent work ethic. And what I mean by that is before you get to an event, there's correspondence that need to happen. There's phone calls that need to be made. There is event preparation. You know, there might be a partner that you're working with, a boss that you're working with if you work for a DJ company and you're not for yourself. And I think that consistent reliability and work ethic, making sure that like you are responding to your emails and you're always showing up and you are your word.
I love that. I love that. You guys are all so amazing. I'm looking at all of us. I think I'm looking at the four of us. Like this is some greatness. Here. All right. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I'm totally echoing what Shorty said. It's definitely the way that I like to think about being a woman in the industry is that it's it's that it's easier to get noticed, but it's harder to get respect, right? Because there's, you know, it's a very saturated market. There's so, like, everybody's a DJ, your grandma's a DJ, you know, and it's easier than ever to get access to the gear that would allow you to be a DJ. And so, yeah, I mean, in such a saturated market, like, standing out in any way is usually helpful. So yeah, it's, you do get noticed more, but yeah, you're constantly underestimated, or just, yeah, or people don't necessarily respect you until they can see what you do. I can't tell you how many times somebody sees me scratch and they're like, oh wow, you're actually good. And I'm like, actually?
Oh, right, yeah.
What? So I defied your expectations of me being terrible.
I thought you were gonna really suck.
Yeah.
But you were actually good.
But yeah, and then the other thing that really bothered me coming up was that female DJs were treated like a novelty act. So I remember when I'd been DJing for a couple years in LA, and I was at one of my favorite parties called Boombox in downtown LA, and one of the resident DJs introduced me to the promoter and was like, Step One's dope, like, she's great mixing, great scratching, like, let's have her on. And the promoter was like, yeah, awesome. The next time we do an all-female lineup, I'll hit you up. And I was like, what? Oh. You know? And it was like, that's this kind of, it's like a circus act, right? Like, watch a bunch of dogs ride a unicycle, you know? It's
and
like,
put them all together at once. Don't spread them out.
Right. Yeah. So rather than, like, you know, kind of, you know, being more inclusive and, like, sprinkling, like, women DJs, like, throughout the lineup throughout the year. Yeah, it was just like, let's just once a year stick them all on the bill. And yeah, so I found that, yeah, that's also been a challenge, because it's like, you know, I definitely, you know, it's a fine line, right? You want to, like, promote and, like, you know, diversity and amplify voices that don't normally get heard, but at the same time you kind of want to prevent it from being this, like, novelty thing of, like, hey, let's watch a bunch of cute girls, like, play with turntables. You know? So but yeah, and I think in terms of advice, I think, you know, just being brave and kind of, you know, gradually tiptoeing towards the things that make you feel uncomfortable. Like, I think that's basically my entire like, music career has just been feeling uncomfortable. Yeah. so where I'm just like, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, you get to a certain level, but there's always, you know, the next thing. And I actually get terrible performance anxiety. So, so, I mean, everything I book is just a new terror. So I just want to say that, yeah, if people out there struggle with that, then, just be courageous, be brave. Like Shorty said, people do want to hear your voice. They do want to hear what you have to contribute. And then also, I just think having more safe spaces for women to collaborate and take creative risks is important. For a few years, I worked with a nonprofit called Today's Future Sound in the Bay Area. We would go into schools and teach kids how to make beats with, I used Ableton, but different instructors use different things. The important thing was just to, you know, like, ignite a love of music and a passion for music making with the kids. And it was generally mixed. There was usually more boys than girls, but I noticed if I had a group of all girls, they, you know, I could coax them out. They would, you know, play patterns and take risks and have fun. But if it was boys and girls in the same group, the boys would just be like, "Wah!" You know, let me at the gear, you know.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Yeah, just totally fearless and, like, making fun of each other, right? Like, if, you know, somebody did something, you know, made a mistake, they would, like, totally, like, you know, diss each other. And it was just this really, like, competitive, aggressive environment. And the girls would just kind of, you know, hang back. And, like, you know, even girls that I had seen play amazing stuff in prior classes, right? Like, you know, they would just, like, not want to touch the gear. And so I think, you know, seeking out spaces that make you feel comfortable enough to create and experiment and take risks is important. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen.
I mean, you know, yeah, you guys are, this is like the best discussion ever. Both of you guys are just amazing and hitting points. And yes, to the nervous before every gig. And I say this every single time I take a gig. And I always say, I've been doing this for over 10 years and I'm like, I still get nervous. Am I ever not going to get nervous? But it's like, I think it's good. It gives you that motivation to make sure you're doing your best. So I 100% agree with you. And I always think to myself, like, is there ever going to be a gig where I just don't have this like nausea beforehand?
You know what? It's when you don't care. It
Right.
just means you care. When you don't care, when you don't have that feeling, check yourself, because that means you don't really care about the gig.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard that too. It's like somebody once told me the moment you stop being nervous is the moment you should stop being a DJ, because you always want to have that level of drive there. And also when you were talking about the guys like pressing the button, when I was at NAMM, the last NAMM, I was scratching and I had been taking lessons with Shorty, and I'm like, I told her, I was like, my one goal is at NAMM, I'm going to scratch in front of these guys and I'm going to show them that
part of your homework.
Yeah, it was part of my homework. And I went there and I scratched, and I remember scratching and I saw these guys and they were just scratching as fast as they can. But I was like, and I remember like listening to it. And now that I had knowledge of what scratching should sound like, all of a sudden I said, oh my God, all these years I thought these guys were doing it right. And they're not. They're just like doing a million mile per hour, like baby scratch and trying to like make it. And it was like, for me, you know, and I'm there with my fiance and she's just like, why is he scratching so much faster than you? And I'm like, well, because I'm scratching on beat and I got a little more rhythm than home, but it's fine. But it's so true. But it can be intimidating. Like if you don't know, you see this and they're just so confident and you're just like, oh my God, I don't know. So yeah, definitely with the safe space for sure. Like had I not had, you know, a female DJ mentor, I don't know if I would have had the confidence to even sit in a table of guys who were scratching, you know, even if I was better, you know, in theory or technically speaking, I would have not had the guts to do that. So your circle is super important to have those people that can build you up. So we are all so grateful to have people to look up to like you guys, and are so grateful for your work in the industry, both of you guys, and Kristen too as well. You do amazing things for female DJs, you know, so it's just so great to see all of you guys.
And you too, Keelas. You too. I know you're not going to
do.
pick yourself up, but I'm going to keep doing it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So I really, before we go, want to touch on some of the most important thing that I think would be helpful to everybody watching today is the fact that both Shorty and Step One are amazing teachers. To start this discussion, Kristen, do you take any kind of lessons, or have you ever done any DJ schools or anything in your career?
So I have taken just like a crash 2-day DJ Scratch Academy thing. But however, I'm going to put a really big asterisk on that because, you know, however many years down the road it has been, I will tell you it is not. I don't think that I got the experience that everyone else did. So I tread lightly when I say that I got that experience. I don't know if it was just my trainer. I don't know if they tried to customize something and it was just like a 2-day thing. But no, I haven't. And I'll definitely say, and some of my girls are watching right now, that I think creating the safe space for comfortability is so important because I don't know if it's East Coast versus West Coast, but I still look around and to me, there's not a lot of females. And so I think that it is very intimidating. And even still to this day, and, you know, people look on the outside, and I'm going to choke up talking about this, but, you know, people look at me and they think, oh my gosh, she's so successful. She has a company. Like, I'm still terrified. Like, I'll get a text message from a guy DJ friend and he'll be like, I'm going to give you this opportunity. I'm going to put you on stage. And I'm like, no, I can't. Who's going to be there? And if he names like, you know, guy DJs that like I look up to, I'm like, no, I can't do it in front of them. Like, I don't know why, but I still get intimidated just stepping in front of the mixer and playing in front of someone. So I definitely think it's important to create that safe space. And I don't know what it is, but I think it's important.
Yeah, well, Chris, I just want to say, I speak for myself, but I'm sure Shorty and Step One would. We're now here for you. So if you need to tell you that you can get in front of those guys and you can do it better than those guys, I'm certain of it. We're your girls because we're here for you to support you all the way. Absolutely. And so, you know, as everybody knows, I take classes with Shorty and she's an amazing teacher, but I'm really curious, and we're going to talk about her lessons in a minute, but I'm curious to learn more about Step One and her production classes and how that goes and what you've been doing with that and what you're currently doing. And also, most importantly, how can the people watching partake and get some education?
Yeah. I've been teaching Ableton now for 5 years. Sorry, I hear an echo of myself. So I started out doing, some workshops, but then eventually I decided to focus more on online courses. Just because it's, you can scale that. You don't have to it's not like traditional sales where oh, you got to sell tickets to the workshop and then fill up the classroom. If you have online classes, you put in all the hard work up front to make the curriculum and, film all the videos and all that stuff. And then it just lives online and anybody can take it anytime at their own pace. Yeah, I've been focusing more on online courses. I've been thinking about doing some stuff where, it's online, but it's like a class that people take together and they go at the same rate through the class and they get dripped content throughout. And they have, they do homework and they share things with each other. Cause I think sometimes with self-paced classes, we all go in with great intentions, but then, life happens and, you kind of have to drop stuff and then you don't get back to it. So yeah, I think that would help people stay more engaged. So that's probably something that we'll do later. But yeah, if you're interested, it's sequence1.org. That's the website. And if anybody's interested in taking, so right now we have 3 classes that are online. We have a class on Ableton Push. We have a beginner, an intro class that I'm in the process of revamping actually. And then we have an intermediate Ableton course. So if you're interested in any of those, you can hit me up and I'll send you a discount link if that's something that you'd like. But yeah, you can check it out on sequence1.org. But yeah, definitely looking forward to putting out more content and stuff over the next year.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm really interested in learning production too. I tried at one point and I can't, it was too many buttons and too much with Ableton and figuring it out. So I'm going to be checking that out as soon as I get off here. I'm curious because it boggled my mind and and I even told Shorty, DJing itself is enough to learn, but then to take it there, because everybody of course is oh, you're a DJ. Oh, do you produce it? Have you made your own tracks? And I'm no, I am not quite there yet. I'm busy, DJing live events and I would love to get there, but they don't realize it's a journey and it's, and you do have a nice segue because you should know song structure to do production, but it's a whole different beast, and learning new equipment and everything like that. So amazing stuff. And one more time, what was the name of your school?
Sequence One.
Sequence One. Okay, cool. Awesome. So there you guys go. Ableton Learning Education Production is sequence1.org. We have QSC shouting the link there. And she mentioned if you reach out, she might be able to get a discount code. So that's awesome. Great news. Thank you so much for that, Step One. Cool. So Shorty, let's wrap things up with you telling us a little bit about your amazing school.
Well, I don't have a school. I have a studio.
That's how hardcore of a teacher she is. So it feels like one or boot camp, I'll call it. I don't know, but go on.
Yeah. No, I'm just teasing you. No, I have taught at schools, definitely. I just don't own one myself. And all my DJ students who want to learn Ableton, I direct them straight to Sequence One. So that would be, where are we on the camera?
It's if you want
to this go way. I'm trying to point at Step One and I can't get there. I don't know what's going on. There she is. But yeah, anyway, so no, but I have taught I've taught at Berkeley. I've done keynote speeches. I've definitely taught at schools before, but I don't own my own. What I do is my main sweet spot is one-on-one and also online courses. So one-on-one coaching like I do with DJ Keyless. While I enjoy the group class setting, I really it lights me up just to connect one-on-one and really dig deep because my 100% of my focus is on you, the student, and there's no distractions and I can adapt the curriculum to your needs. So it's not we're on the set thing. I have something in mind depending on what you want to learn. But then if you if you have a dope skill and I think we can capitalize that, then we bounce off that and grow that. Or if just one day we're doing scratching for 3 weeks and you're you know what, I really need to work on putting together my playlist. Can you help me organize my library or help me create a system so that I make it easier to improvise or something like that? Then we focus on that. So I love the pliability of the one-on-one lessons and just being able to adapt and also the mindset piece, because Keyless can talk about this. We talk a lot about mindset in the one-on-one lessons, because it gets in the way so much. Like there's so many mental blocks. I mean, I even shared that story with you earlier about the crying in the bathroom in Texas. But that's like an extreme version of it. But even Kristen saying that she's intimidated when she's like, oh, it depends on who's at the gig if I'm going to get up behind the decks. Like, because I so have this fear of being judged, like that's what I heard from you when you said that, Kristen. So, and so we work a lot on mindset. If Kristen was my student, I'd say you gain confidence by doing. So it's like, you got to jump off that cliff over and over and over again. And that's the only way it's going to make it easier. And then also just try to treat each gig equally. Treat every gig like it's your last.
Right.
But then if every gig is equal and there's no like, oh, this is more pressure than this gig, and just try to be like, I'm just going to do my best every single time I get on the decks. And, there's going to be people that judge me. I can't please everyone. And believe me, I say this stuff to me too. It's not like I've like reached this higher state and I'm not nervous anymore. That's not true. I shake every time I go live online. And when I do gigs too, but that's because we care. Right. So, but yeah, but back to teaching, like the mindset piece is really, really big. And so with the one-on-one coaching, it really, we go deep. Like, and Keelas can tell you this, we really go deep into some lessons, or like, a majority of it is us just like digging deep into like, what is blocking you? Like, I can teach you step 1, step 2, step 3, step 1, haha. But like stretching, right? But, and I do that, but then if you can't get it, it's a lot of the times like, oh, I can't do this, or this is too hard, or this isn't going to work for me, or all these negative limiting beliefs that get in the way, right? Instead of thinking, how can I make this work for me? I'm so excited to learn this. I'm capable of learning this. It's going to be so amazing when I get this, and visualize that success. So that's a lot of what we do in private lessons, and it just totally lights me up. So I have that going on. And you can access that at djshorty.com. That's SHORTEE.com, djshorty.com. And just click on how to learn to DJ, and it'll take you to the private lessons page. There's also links to online courses on there as well, in my book, and the Scratch DJ workouts that I do live on YouTube for free. There's a link there as well. So I have a lot of free educational stuff, and then the paid stuff. And right now I'm offering a deal where if you buy the 10 lesson package, you get 1 lesson free. So it's like a 10% discount. So that's the best deal that I have going on right now. But yeah, and then in terms of what I'm working on, like I said, I have these online courses, and they're all DIY courses, kind of like what step 1 described, where it's like go at your own pace. But what I've realized also, and I'm piggybacking on what she said, is I'm a total nerd myself in terms of online courses, and like especially branding, and what Kristen was saying about lead magnets and funnels, and like get all the marketing stuff. I totally nerd out on that. And so from that, I take a lot of online courses from a lot of online marketers. And doing that, I've learned that the courses that resonate most with me, and the ones I get the most success over, are the guided programs where you get actual feedback. There's Q&A calls with the actual instructor. You could actually talk to someone. You could show them what you're doing and get feedback on it and course correct. So you're not developing bad habits in terms of like technique, like scratching, if we're talking about scratching or mixing or something like that. But even when you're just learning email or like how to set up your email funnel and do automations on ActiveCampaign, it's the same kind of thing. Like you need feedback, and you need someone to guide you through it. So that's what I'm working on right now, also in quarantine. In addition to teaching only online lessons, Keelas knows you can't come into my studio right now. It's blocked off in person, but we do tons online lessons. But also these online courses that I'm working on are guided coaching programs. So one is a mixed DJ method, and one is a scratch DJ method. And it's kind of like my life's work all culminating into these courses. And it's going to be content dripped out, and having like interaction, hot seat coaching, Q&A coaching, interactive Facebook group where there builds community. That's another big piece around like online programs. If there's a community that you can connect with, not only to get answers from the instructor, but also from your other peers, because you learn so much by watching other people. If we could do a hot seat call right now, and I might not get my question answered, but I'm going to learn from all of you and what you ask. And so that's so valuable. I definitely see that. So that's what I'm working on right now. So stay tuned for that. But until then, you can check out all the free stuff that I have in terms of free tutorials. I got tons of free mixing tutorials on YouTube too. My YouTube channels are DJ Shorty, so DJ SHORTEE, so youtube.com/DJ Shorty. And then I also have youtube.com/complete DJ method, which is in promotion of my 22 online courses that are available on Groove 3. And so there's tons of, I give away tons of free tutorials from those courses. So you can like learn a ton for free on my YouTube. I pretty much give away the farm. Keelas knows this too.
Yeah.
But the magic is in the feedback. And I know that. So I could teach everything I know for free online DIY, but people will still come. Actually, more will come because I've built trust, and I would advise that to anyone, like, don't hold back. Give away as much as you can, because you're just going to build trust and people are going to want that interaction with you and work with you personally one-on-one if you're an instructor and stuff like that. So that's my strategy. And I love it because it just feels so authentic and I can be of service in a really cool way. And I just love giving away stuff for free, even though making money is cool, but that's what lights me up. And then I tracked the students, like my ideal students, through that process. And that's with any business. You want to tell people how to book you as a DJ. You want to attract your ideal clients. Don't play music that you think people want. Play music that you feel that is your brand and show your unique voice, because then you're going to attract all like the dream promoters that are going to book you. And so that's what I do with my students, and in terms of attracting students as well. And I just really enjoy it. So yeah. DJShorty.com. That's where all the goodness is. Everything's there. You can find even the YouTube channel. You can find everything from there, and my Instagram too. It's all there at DJ Shorty.
Yeah, no, amazing. And again, I can attest to her personal skills, but I would just say that DJ lessons in general, regardless of where and when you take them, are just a great accountability tool to make sure. Because for me, and Shorty can probably tell you, I am the worst when it comes to practicing. So I go into class. I used to take her classes weekly. Quarantine, I do bi-weekly now to save a little bit on, we all know how it is. But with that being said, even the bi-weekly courses, I made sure to keep them so that I could keep myself accountable and make sure that I scratch. Because sometimes you get so busy, even on quarantine, doing Zoom events, prepping, interviews, live streaming, that you don't have the time to sit there and really refine your skills. So it's been awesome to have that accountability. And also she makes it so that I don't quit learning something. So like when I learned the whip scratch and the crab, I don't know if you remember, like the whip, I'm like, I hate this. Let's move on. I hate this.
Yep.
And now
I'm like, no, that means we got to dig deeper.
No, we're not going to do it. And then I remember doing it for like 30 minutes and she's like, oh, your hand hurts. Take a break and come back. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then the crab, she sent me home with like a fader and she's like, no, you're going to learn this crab. And she's like, I don't care what you do. If you have the chance, you're crabbing. And she's like, and when you're not using that fader and you're driving on your steering wheel, you're crabbing. Because my fingers did a weird thing because it's pinky to index.
Yeah, she was going opposite.
She was going index to pinky. Yeah. And she's like, what's wrong with your hand? And I'm like,
I didn't say that. You're exaggerating.
She taught me. And so I was like driving down the road and making sure I was always going pinky to index, which now, I can, I'm not the perfect crabber, but I can definitely do a 3-finger crab. And I'm like,
you're a badass crabber.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. I'm trying.
Has crabs, like serious.
I agree. And it's all things accountability, but definitely for both of these ladies and production and scratching, I would definitely recommend lessons for any DJ that's out there, whether you're starting or even if you've been in this for 10 years. It's helpful. It's everything that you could need to make yourself better. And I think we always have to have that drive to be better, to be successful, throughout the years. So I will leave on that. Thank you guys all so much. You guys have been amazing. This is like the best DJ discussion I could have possibly asked for. So I'm super, super grateful for both of you to be here. But before we go, let's go ahead and shout out our social media handles one more time so people know how to find us. Once again, I'm DJ Keelas at DJ Keelas. You can see it down here. This is mirrored, you guys. We'll get it one day.
It's that way.
Yeah.
I still can't do it. It's
the Brady
there.
Bunch. Brady Bunch.
Right. And so anyway, let's go across. So step one, how can we find you?
You can find me at on Instagram. It's DJ Step One, but it's spelled out like DEEJAY Step One. Love it. All right, and Kristen?
My handles are right here. You can find me at Meet Kristen or on our company page at RDJ Rocks.
Awesome. And Shorty, let's hear it.
On Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, it's DJ Shorty at DJ Shorty. And then on Facebook, it's at DJ Shorty Official, because there's an imposter that I battle. But my website houses everything. So djshorty.com, that's the mother load. It has everything. And that's also how you can connect with me. My email is directly on there. It goes straight to me. Sign up for my mailing list. I got a Scratch DJ toolkit that's there for free as well. It's got dope beats and dope scratch sounds and whatever. And then you get on my mailing list and you get tons of exclusive stuff like that. So, but it's all at djshorty.com. SHORTE.
Yes, and remember that SHORTEE. And there is an imposter. I remember once I was driving in LA and I saw a billboard with a different shorty, and it was like a guy, and I'm like, who is that? And I'm texting her. So yeah, you gotta hear that. But anyway, yes, she's got it. Yeah, you're look. I mean, a pro. An hour in, and she's a pro. That's why she's such a great DJ. Look at that. Cool. Well, again, thank you guys so much for everybody out there watching. Thank you so much for joining us. DJ discussions happen on the regular here on the QSC page. I will be back in July for mine. I think Kristen might have some coming up. They have several that are moderated by different DJs. Kristen's the other female, I think that they have coming up in the near future. So check her out. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. QSC, thank you so much for having us. Shorty, step one. Thank you again for all you do. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you to QSC, and thank you to Quiles.
And then the DJ discussion, so people know, weekly Wednesdays, noon Pacific time. So tune in Wednesdays at noon, you guys. Once again, thank you so much. Take care. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.